My name is Dagmara Bożek. I'm a specialist at the Institute of Geophysics, Polish Academy of Sciences. I'm responsible for the area of science communication. And today I prepared a short lesson concerning the microplastic in the Arctic, which is connected with the educational toolkit prepared within the Polar Star project. It was a big international project in which we created a few toolkits concerning some polar topics like plastic, like permafrost or Arctic amplification. So it is one of them. And there would be a bunch of information concerning the plastic phenomenon in the high north and some examples of exercises that might be used by the teachers during their classes with the students. So the first one is I start with the story of three bottles, which is connected with the very nice video I found in the internet from TEDx. Because I think that the plastic bottle is a symbol of the plastic problem around the world. There is something we use every day, and we can somehow imagine what would be if we put it in many strange or appropriate place. Okay, so here is the video. I hope you will hear it, and it is very nice. I think it covers some area of today's classes, so I think it's still worth to watch it.
This is the story of three plastic bottles, empty and discarded. Their journeys are about to diverge, with outcomes that impact nothing less than the fate of the planet. But they weren't always this way. To understand where these bottles end up, we must first explore their origins. The heroes of our story were conceived in this oil refinery. The plastic in their bodies was formed by chemically bonding oil and gas molecules together to make monomers. In turn, these monomers were bonded into long polymer chains to make plastic, in the form of millions of pellets. Those were melted at manufacturing plants and reformed in molds to create the resilient material that makes up the triplets' bodies. Machines filled the bottles with sweet, bubbly liquid, and they were then wrapped, shipped, bought, opened, consumed, and unceremoniously discarded. And now here they lie, poised at the edge of the unknown. Bottle 1, like hundreds of millions of tons of his plastic brethren, ends up in a landfill. This huge dump expands each day as more trash comes in and continues to take up space. As plastics sit there being compressed amongst layers of other junk, rainwater flows through the waste and absorbs the water-soluble compounds it contains, and some of those are highly toxic. Together, they create a harmful stew called leachate, which can move into groundwater, soil, and streams, poisoning ecosystems and harming wildlife. It can take bottle 1 an agonizing 1,000 years to decompose. Bottle 2's journey is stranger, but unfortunately no happier. He floats on a trickle that reaches a stream that flows into a river, and a river that reaches the ocean. After months lost at sea, he's slowly drawn into a massive vortex where trash accumulates, a place known as the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Here, the ocean's currents have trapped millions of pieces of plastic debris. This is one of 5 plastic-filled gyres in the world's seas, places where the pollutants turn the water into a cloudy plastic soup. Some animals, like seabirds, get entangled in the mess. They and others mistake the brightly colored plastic bits for food. Plastic makes them feel full when they're not, so they starve to death and pass the toxins from the plastic up the food chain. For example, it's eaten by lanternfish. The lanternfish are eaten by squid. The squid are eaten by tuna. And the tuna are eaten by us. And most plastics don't biodegrade, which means they're destined to break down into smaller and smaller pieces called microplastics. which might rotate in the sea eternally. But Bottle 3 is spared the cruel purgatories of his brothers. A truck brings him to a plant where he and his companions are squeezed flat and compressed into a block. Okay, this sounds pretty bad too, but hang in there. It gets better. The blocks are shredded into tiny pieces, which are washed and melted so they become the raw materials that can be used again. As if by magic, Bottle 3 is now ready to be reborn as something completely new. For this bit of plastic with such humble origins, suddenly the sky is the limit.
Okay, so here is the first video I wanted to show you. So one of the exercises presented in the toolkit is to imagine the possible ways of 3 or more plastic bottles. And I think it might be presented as some kind of map and you can do, of course, with your students. So of course, the third scenario is the very nice option, and we want to have such kind of scenarios in our lives. But very often, unfortunately, it's something different, like those big garbage islands where the plastic waste and other sort of them are decomposed. For example, some employees of our institute last year were to Bangar Oasis. It's located in eastern Antarctica, and they traveled there by a ship. So the observation were not so happy because they spotted a lot of plastic waste in the oceans traveling through those sea waters to reach the Bangar Oasis. So we want to believe that polar regions are empty and without any plastic wastes, but unfortunately, it's not the true. It's also the result of work of ocean currents around the globe. Here is very nice animation, and you can see how the ocean currents work, because using the, let's say, tracks, the plastic might reach very distant places in our planet, like the Arctic or the Antarctic areas. So I think that the first aim of the presentation I prepared was my memories from the Spitsbergen when I used to work for 1 year at the Polish Polar Station Horsund. And it was 10 years ago. And very often during some field works, we found plastic and other waste on the shore. And the same was in the Antarctic when I used to work at Polish Antarctic station of Henryk Garstowski. And unfortunately, year by year, the data collected by my colleagues who work in the Antarctic emphasize that there are more and more plastic waste found around the station. Of course, people who live, who work in such kind of places, they don't throw away the waste around the area where they live. They store the waste, and many of them are transported to Poland to be recycled. But unfortunately, the sea brings some waste from distant places in the world. So here there is a legend, and you can see some piece of information about the data. The date. I think those data presented here are quite temporary. So it is, as you can see, from 21st of January. And here, yeah, I like show that map to the students because they were curious, and unfortunately they were shocked in the same time, because seeing such kind of things that, yeah, thanks to the ocean currents, We also have some plastic waste in the Arctic. Is well, not an easy and nice to hear thing. There is also very nice website presenting the trash distribution worldwide. Of course, it based on some scientific papers and data collected by the scientists. So maybe it's not very up to date, but also thanks to it, we have an impression about the phenomenon on plastic in the Arctic and in other areas. So we are talking about the Arctic, the Svalbard archipelago, for example, and here you can see um, yes, some areas marked as those where the plastic were observed. And when we click on it, yeah, I'm not so successful with it. Yes, but you will obtain more detailed information about that places with the trashes, with the plastic. As you can see, the violet color indicates the plastic. I don't know what why I can't find the information about this, because recently when I click on it, there were full information about the authors and the scientific papers where the um, distribution of the plastic were described. But okay, you can do it on your own after the classes, because I don't want to waste your time. But the interesting thing is, as you can see, from the west side of the Spitsbergen, of the whole Svalbard archipelago, the trashes are decomposed mainly. It's the result of the Golfstrom, the ocean current. Also, that part of the Spitsbergen, the southern part and the western coast, was monitored by my colleagues from the institute within the project and the Foundation for Science. For 2 or 3 summer seasons, they went to Svalbard to monitor how many trashes, plastic trashes, plastic wastes are located in such area. Unfortunately, year by year, there were many of them. So there is a plastic bag. It is symbolic to our topic because we use it every day. Unfortunately, we used too many of the plastic bags nowadays. Of course, we are trying to reduce the amount of the things, but still, according to some American data, there are 100 million grocery bags, plastic bags used every year. So when you hear the commentary to the movie we watched, there was an information that about 1,000 years is the time during which the plastic waste are decomposing. So it's very quite long distance time period. So unfortunately, when those plastic waste are decomposed in polar regions, because we are talking about the polar regions, they spend many years there and are very harmful to the natural environment. So very sad is another fact that, according to, again, American data, 12 minutes is the average lifetime of the plastic bag used, as we said, every day and in many amounts. So it means that many of them are throwaway, senseless. We just took them and didn't and don't use for a long time. And of course, those all plastic waste go somewhere, and many of them not really for the place they should go. So the oceans are unfortunately one of the most popular in a negative meaning place where the plastic waste are found. The microplastic, there was information also about this. It is all, of course, the keyword for nowadays discussion concerning plastic in the earth and the plastic waste. It is a type of plastic which is very small, and it has the diameters less than 5 millimeters. So it's quite small, but still we can see it without the microscope, for example. But unfortunately, there are many smaller, tiny pieces of plastic that might be found in the oceans, in the air, soil, in our food, and so on. And it's called nanoplastic. It's very small, we can't see it without the microscope, and unfortunately it might penetrate, for example, our respiratory system. So here is another short video concerning the microplastic topic, and it is about the scientific expedition that was organized to the Arctic, and here is also the information where we can unfortunately found some tiny pieces of microplastic.
We know that most of what we are analyzing up there and measuring are long-range transported pollution, coming from the continent, coming from Asia, coming from all over the world.
And so we're seeing, plastics of different colors and different geometries, these beads and the filaments. For us, it was kind of a punch to the stomach to see what looked like a normal sea ice core in such a beautiful, pristine environment, but just chock full of this material, which is completely foreign to the environment.
Okay, so the result of some scientific investigations are not that happy for us, and unfortunately the problem of the plastic and the microplastic is rising because according to another data, approximately 8 million tons of plastic every year are dumped into our oceans. So it's a quite huge amount, and the perspective for the future is not that optimistic because the production of the plastic worldwide is still rising. During the pandemia time, it was a little bit stable and it even decreasing, but now it is growing year by year. So unfortunately, the beginning of the 21st century brought us the sharp increase of plastic production. We use plastic everywhere in many forms, and many of us can even imagine life without plastic things around us. So, because of the alarming plastic problems in the that educational toolkit I'm talking about, I encourage the students and the teachers to create such kind of experiment during their classes or at home, at the school. It depends on the idea what which teacher might have, to count the plastic waste we produce every day. So it is very simple experiment. My proposition is to carry out the experiment during the 1 week time, because it's easy to see the results and it's not maybe time consuming for the teachers and for the students. So there is in the toolkit the form where you can put the data concerning the amount of plastic waste that you throw away every day. So the things you will need are very simple and they are easy to access. So it is a separate trash bin for the plastic. It is the weight, and of course the form which might be hanged in a um, visible place, let's say, and you put the information about the weight of the plastic every day, and after that you sum up your results after 1 week period. So of course, when you finish the experiment, you can make prediction for 1 year. So it's another form where there is an information about the number of persons in your house, how many plastic waste are produced every day. So you can count what would be the total number of kilograms in whole year for your home, for your family. Um, we had a feedback from some schools that made the experiment with the plastic waste, and they said that for us it was very shocking, because when we throw away regularly the waste, we didn't see the amount, but when you have the data, how many kilograms of the waste you produce every day, it might be surprising. So they said that for them it was shocking. They sent us a lot of photos from the experiment. So I'm very glad that the toolkit is used at schools during the classes. But yeah, it's something something that might have an impact on our behaviors concerning the protection of the environment. And in the last part of the experiment, you can count how many of the your plastic waste might might reach the oceans. Here is the short infographic, and using it, you can count how many. Of course, it is the, let's say, the prediction, because it doesn't mean that you throw away your plastic waste to the closest river, for example, in your city. It's not like this, but we know that every year 8 uh, million tons of plastic waste are throwing into the ocean. So maybe some that kind of prediction also for us would be like something very visible. What is the impact on of our behavior to the environment? So in the last slide, here is also one of the, maybe not the solution, but some things that might improve even a little bit the situation. There are many applications for our smartphones we can use to see how many microplastics are, for example, in the cosmetics or other daily products. We used that application during classes with the students. All of us prepared a pile of separated cosmetics like shampoos, shower gels, and so on. And we scanned the labels with the information of the ingredients that the product contain. And finally, we get the information on the level of some microplastic substances that are in the products, or if there is a risk that might be some pieces of microplastics and so on. So yeah, another thing that was very interesting for the students, because they even don't know and don't think about that such kind of products we use every day and might contain something which might be harmful for the environment. Oh, sorry. And in the end, here is the information about the toolkit. As I said, it was prepared within the project Polar Star, and it is called Plastic in the Arctic. The toolkit is available in many languages, in Polish, English, Bulgarian, Greek, and so on. I will send you the link to the to that toolkit. Maybe it would be useful for you. Here is my email address if you will have some questions concerning the topic or our other educational activities within the Institute of Geophysics, Polish Academy of Sciences.